Yo, it is Stocks and Bars, the Stock Market Hip Hop Podcast, the only place where you will find financial information mixed with hip hop. And today, we're going to kick it up a notch. We're going to talk about health is wealth. I have a special guest with me, and we're going to talk all about the things that will make you healthy and wealthy. Let's go.
I got my clique ready to use the money they got from jobs, encouraging, teaching them that it's not so hard. I'm doing this, making investing popular. It's extra. You tuning in to Stocks and Bars.
Yo, this is Stocks and Bars, the Stock Market Hip Hop Podcast, the only place where you will find hip hop mixed with finance. So check it out who I got with me today. All right, so this young lady, all right, we met not officially in FinCon, but we got to know each other through an app. All right. So through the app, shout out to my guy Marcus for plugging me in on the app. He told me about this app. He was like, yo, you part of this? I'm like, no, I'm not. And he told me about it. He said, I can put you on. So we kept talking about it. He finally got me in there. And this app is awesome. WhatsApp, obviously. This is what I want to say. WhatsApp. And in this app, everybody that was down in FinCon that I didn't get a chance to mingle with is in there. And this is how we met. So I shot a message out and I said, if there's anybody who'd be willing to come on a podcast to talk with me about finance or anything related to it, let me know. And she reached out. So we started our discussion and here we are. So I did a little bit of digging on her just to figure out, what is she about? All right. She's with Affinity Consulting Group. And what I understand what they do, which she'll tell me in a little bit, got the quick 10-minute snippet of it, which is they help businesses find ways to make money. So we're going to talk about fitness, health is wealth. I want to get into this one. All right. So ladies and gentlemen, let's put together our hands for Cherrise Wilks. What's going on with you, Cherrise?
What's up, Dwayne? How are you?
Oh, I'm awesome. I'm on the other side of the dirt, so I'm good.
Listen, it's always great to wake up and have breath in your body and be alive.
Yes, that's how I look at it. That's a victory. Somebody was wanting what I got right now, so I'm very thankful for it. So we're going to talk about health is wealth, because if anybody follows me on YouTube, you know at the end of my messages, I always talk about money first. I talk about hip hop, but predominantly I always talk about health as wealth. And I tell people to make sure to drink their water, make sure to exercise, and to spend time with people that they love. Because these are the three things that I don't feel we do enough. All right. I feel in our culture we don't do enough. But as far as in American culture, I don't even think it's done enough at all. So before we jump into that, go ahead and give a quick introduction to who you are, what you do. And we'll get into the health as wealth.
All right. So my name is Cherrise Wilks. I am the CEO and Chief Funding Strategist for Affinity Consulting Group. We are a 13-year-old management consulting firm based in Florida, but we serve nationwide. We have two business units. We provide business advisory services where we help businesses through incorporation, strategy, business planning, access to capital, business certifications, and getting them into government contracting. And we are also adding in business brokerage services in the next 2 months to be able to buy and sell businesses.
Okay.
And on the other business unit side, we actually go after government contracts ourselves, and we provide services to local and state governments for the time being. But my whole focus is to be able to serve and help 1,000 businesses get access to capital and be prepared to get contracts. And so my goal is to make sure that they get access to lines of credit, credit cards, and other types of funding through partnerships with the government, and make sure that they are able to sustain their businesses and survive as long as my business has had or those of my counterparts. So sustainability is key, and that's what we're all about.
All right. Yeah. See, I got it. It was help people get money.
Yeah. We've been quite successful at it. We've actually helped government entities and businesses actually raise over $84 million in funding, and we've helped over $314 million.
Yeah, that's big numbers we talking there. So how did you end up stumbling upon getting into this? Is this a brainchild of yours that you started, or how did you end up getting this?
It is a brainchild. My career actually was starting out in public administration, working for the government at the state. I worked in the legislature for a little bit, certain state departments, and then I ended up working under three mayors within the city of Florida. And I worked on some major, major projects. But with all of those projects, in order to, pull off a $50 million deal, you need to have public-private partnerships.
Mm-hmm.
And that involves nonprofits and businesses at the table to help bring that stuff to life. So I started kind of digging in it. And then honestly, I had a series of three dreams that would not go away. So I call it a divine kind of intervention.
Yeah.
God was pushing me into moving into the grants administration space with writing and managing. I didn't know how to write grants at all. I had no clue. And actually, one of the mayors that I was working for, his chief of staff came to me one day and all of a sudden asked me to create a centralized grants office for the city and write grants. And it was one of those things where you can't say no to the mayor. And so I went ahead and did it, fear-based and everything. And it just took off from there. So I actually incorporated my business while I was still working with the government and just decided to work with businesses and nonprofits on the side. And then in 2016, I decided to go out full time on my own and work the business full time. So I've been full time since then.
So when it comes to the grants, like
Mm-hmm.
a lot of people, I had a buddy of mine who started a business not too long ago, and he was telling me he was applying for grants through the city and everything. What is the process? I know, is it similar in any city, period, in order to do that? Like, what is the process in order to apply to get a grant?
So this is going to depend on your government, whether your local government, county government, or your state, whether or not they offer grants. I mean, if you're in a smaller kind of rural community, the likelihood of them offering grants is probably slim to none, but you can try it anyway. What can happen is, honestly, what I like to tell people is everything that you do in terms of funding to be the most successful, it's about relationships.
Yep.
So
He was telling
even,
me that too. Yep.
yeah, even working with the government and trying to figure out what type of funding that they have available, whether it's grants, tax credits, loans, governments give out loans to, they differ. So you definitely need to be a great networker and step out of your comfort zone and go down and talk to people and tell them what you're seeking and how you're planning to make an impact in your community with your business. And then build a rapport with them and that relationship. That's what brings in money. You gotta, sometimes you gotta know people. People will tell you about funding opportunities, grants, and things that have grants, contracts, whatever. They'll tell you about that before it may even hit the streets if you've got a good relationship with people.
Yeah, it's kind of like real estate. Like you can get a house,
absolutely,
before it even gets there, right?
Absolutely. So relationships are key. But yes, whenever you are looking for government grants, any type of grant for your business, whether it's coming from a corporation or a government entity, they pretty much ask for a lot of the same documentation for that grant application. In fact, I have a class in a financial bundle that I sell where it's like the top 10 business grant questions. And how to answer them. I may actually re-record that class soon live because I did it, off the cuff. But there are questions that everybody asks, and your business needs to know how to respond to those questions. And the biggest thing is conveying your message about who you are, how do you serve, and the impact that you're going to make on your community. That's what they care about. The government cares about the impact to their constituents, and also, how are you helping them, spread the word, save money, be more efficient, effective, all of those types of things. That's what the government cares about.
Okay. Yeah. He was telling me the same thing about the relationships because he started a cigar lounge and the area that he planned on putting it in didn't see anything like that for a while. So he had to get out there and get his face out there and everything to let people know this is what he's planning on doing. And he rubbed the right elbows and he got the funding to do it. And he said it took a while, but once it started going, that's all it took. And, now
absolutely
he's successful.
The government, the government can help you get buildings, land, it's all sorts of ways to finesse a relationship with the government. If you are putting your business in an area that they have deemed for reinvestment, that they're trying to revitalize, those areas are ripe and prime for funding opportunities.
Okay. All right, that's the money part. We can jump back into that one. All right, I want to get into
about money all day.
Oh, listen, this podcast would be 55 hours if we want to do that, because I could talk money in every aspect of it possible. We're going to tie it to the health now, right? Because health is wealth. So I want to start with my journey with health. All right, I now am a vegan. Okay, at a point in my life, I ate meat consistently. All right. And I'm talking about, if a salad didn't have meat on it, I wasn't touching it. Right. And I got to that point because that's how I was raised. Right. So what ended up switching me over was I had aches. All right. At the time I was probably 36 or so. And then everyone kept telling me, oh, it's just part of getting older, yada, yada. Right. You get older. This is what it is. And I'm like, nah, some just don't feel like I shouldn't be feeling like this, right?
Right.
So the main thing I used to have was knee pain. And it was in my left knee, as a matter of fact. And I go out and I go outside and do the yard work. And anytime I do that and I would bend, then the next day I'd be feeling it. Like, oh, I was bending way too much. So then I ended up reading something about inflammation. And how red meat causes inflammation. And the foods that you eat causes. I'm like, okay, I do eat red meat, so this might work out. Mm-hmm. So I did a little bit more research on my own and decided to just say, all right, I'm done. Like, it was one day, I just said, I'm not doing it anymore. So I went cold turkey. I just straight up did not eat anything past a specific date. And I said, if it works, cool. If it doesn't, then I'll just go back to what I was doing. So I did it, and I kid you not, week 1, done. I had no knee pain whatsoever. Things felt different on my skin. Mm-hmm. We could talk about poop. Poop is different. All of that,
different when you
everything, switches up. All right. Within 3 weeks, like, I just felt completely different from not having that in my system at all. Mm-hmm. And since then, I was like, all right, well, shoot, I'm just gonna keep rolling. So as I continued to roll with it, the difficulties kicked in, right? Because then you don't really have the variety that you used to in your diet, because there's so much meat and cheese all out there. You don't really pay attention to it until you stop eating it, right? So then when you
can only eat beans.
Yeah. So and it's like, this is boring, right? I can't eat anything. So when you go to the restaurants and you look on the menus and you're like, everything is smothered in cheese. They put cheese on everything. Like, I can't eat this. So I went really hard for about a good solid 9 months before I finally had like any other piece of meat, right? And it tore me up. When I had that back in me, I was like,
yes,
ooh, this is not good. So there's my story on how I started this. So go. How'd you end up getting into understanding more about how your health and your diet are related?
So my health journey, as it relates to where I am today, started actually about a decade ago, while I was still working for government, still running the business on the side. And it was a matter of me making a decision in 2016 to start making changes. In 2013, I had always been the woman who works out with a trainer. My employers at the time had partnerships with the YMCA. So like every summer they have these games where they'd get groups of employees together. You could work out, and basically it was like adult field day. I used to love those every year. And so we would have these competitions during the summer to like lose weight or just get fit, and have kind of a little gamification system so that we would earn rewards after participating during the summer.
Yeah.
So I was used to an active lifestyle. I was active in high school, kind of slowed down with college, but basically kept an active lifestyle well into, I'm older than you think, but well into my 30s. So in 2013, I was working out with a trainer. I had actually had 2 car accidents in my 20s, was right back up, right back to work, right back to school. Nothing seemed wrong. But in 2013, I was working out with a trainer and felt this sharp pain, and it went downhill from there. So come to find out, I ended up having a 4 herniated disc, which they are still herniated. However, what that did was put me on a path for pain management. And for those who have any back issues, neck issues, even with any of your joints, when you start down that path of pain management, they want to basically give you drugs that are narcotics that keep you sleepy, lazy all day. They want to pump you up full of steroids, et cetera. And so that actually ended up making me worse, essentially. The side effects of those drugs and being on pain management for a couple of years caused me to gain weight. But then I think my body just started rejecting things, and more issues with inflammation kept popping up. It wasn't until the last 3 years out of the 6 since I left full-time employment, I finally started going to holistic doctors. I intentionally chose to find medical general practitioners, chiropractors, nurse practitioners, any doctor that I needed to have. I wanted them to have a holistic background and care about alternative forms of medicine or methodologies outside of Western medicine. So with this team of doctors, I just kept telling everybody, I'm feeling bad. I am feeling bad. Inflammation, my gut hurts, or it seems leaky all the time, like something is wrong. So they started me down this path of really trying to examine what was going on with my health. And it got to a point that in 2021, running this business and having a very, very stressful contract that I needed to terminate early because it was so stressful. The stress and what was going on with my health and food ended up causing me to meet with my doctors, and my doctors told me to take a month off. They actually shut it down. They demanded me. They said, there is something going on with your body. We cannot figure this out. We need to run more tests on you, and you need to just shut this down, recalibrate, and let's run these tests. And when you come back from this month off, we'll have a plan in place for you. So what happened with that was I ended up having markers for autoimmune diseases, actually. Ooh. Okay. And so my doctor at the time mentioned that she had seen more incidences of this in Black women in America. And we had a frank conversation. I said, well, the reason I feel even worse right now is also because of the stress that I am experiencing, interacting on this contract where honestly, there's PTSD occurring because of the person who is managing this contract. She doesn't like the company. The company is predominantly minority, and she has made, inflammatory comments to people. And it's known that she does not want to deal with us. And so this impacts my business. It impacts my livelihood. It impacts the livelihood of my staff, and something has to change. So she ran these tests. So what ended up happening is she gave me a really thorough, comprehensive food allergen test. Okay. That food allergen test came back that I had 53 food allergens. She immediately put me on a food elimination diet for 6 months, which means I basically went almost vegan on most days, but vegan, but I could do pescatarian, but there were only certain types of fish that I could eat. Shellfish, certain white fishes, they were all on the list. Most of the vegetables that I loved were on the list. A lot of the fruits that I loved were on the list. Nuts on the list. Absolutely no dairy. So everything that I did, I switched to almond products. I thought I was doing good by even switching to cashew nut-based products. She was like, nope, take that out as well. Surprisingly, the thing in terms of meat, I still needed to get protein, but for me, red meat was actually in the green area on that allergen test. So my body processes red meat better than others, but I had to take off chicken. I had to take off turkey. I had to take off, vegetables like broccoli, cabbage, all of these things. And so that was like a pretty trying time. But honestly, by me starting that food elimination process, She also told me to start focusing on sleep, to start focusing on more exercise, and to start focusing on my mindset through this process. Because she said, what we don't want you to do is continue to stay stressed out and eat these bad foods for your body. And then you're not getting proper sleep, you're not exercising, and you're not doing all of these other things that makes up your total health.
Right.
So she even put me on a regimen for when I go to sleep. I listen to the Calm app and the sleep stories and do meditation before I go to bed. I remove the TV out of my room. I don't go to bed with devices anymore. I literally get 8 full hours of sleep. I set my do not disturb on. It goes on at 10:30 every night. You cannot reach me until 7:30 the next morning.
That's
all of these little things and being disciplined about it started to make a difference in my health. And so, focusing on those, the water intake, cutting out alcohol, cutting out any sodas, all of those things started impacting me in a positive way.
right.
In addition to, I started focusing on exercise that was also a good mental break for me. So I picked up yoga and started focusing on breathing techniques and sound baths and all the things that keep you calm and in a spirit of like being elevated in your best self while you're there. She told me in terms of exercise, don't do things that you don't like. For instance, I told her, I honestly hate the gym. I really do. I don't like it. Don't want to get near it. I think it's kind of performative where everybody's watching themselves in the mirror. I don't like it. So she said, well, what do you enjoy? So I picked up things like I'm in Florida. I love being outside. We have sunshine in Central Florida majority of the year. It's always nice weather. So I get outside. I go walking. I go bike riding. I picked up golf lessons. I've done all of these things that bring me more joy than being inside four walls lifting weights. Now, don't get me wrong. I do now work out with a trainer again. My body is in a great place health-wise where I can work out with a trainer. So I do strength training like 2 times a week.
Okay.
But I literally had to start focusing on all of these things. The other thing that really mattered to me also was decreasing my weight. So in addition to the autoimmune stuff, I had other comorbidities that had all popped up at the same time. And I told her, I don't, want to end up having to, thinking about potentially dying younger than I should.
Right.
Or, not being here for my business or my family later on. I haven't started a family. Like, I do want that. So I need to get everything in order. So for me, I actually made a choice I had an endocrinologist. I made a choice with her. I did everything she needed me to do. Food elimination, working on a diet plan, exercising. I picked all that stuff back up. But for my body, I also ended up being insulin and metabolic resistance. So diabetes runs on both sides of my family.
Okay.
And what a lot of people don't know, it is scary. So what a lot of people don't know is that when you've got diabetes on both sides of your family tree or on your family tree, you need to have different tests ran. There is such a thing as insulin resistance, which means you're not necessarily pre-diabetic, but it makes it more difficult for you to lose weight. So even though I was doing all of these things, I still was not losing weight and I was overweight. So I ended up with the doctor's care, decided to actually end up having weight loss surgery.
Okay.
Which is what I did in July. And that helped drop the weight. Now I still need to work on it, but I'm no longer on any medications. I also had a sleep apnea machine and I'm young. Like all of that stuff has completely gone away.
It's all from the diet change.
All diet change, all getting active, and the surgery was a tool. So that tool has helped me as well. That I would say the surgery, the tool of getting that food allergen test, and then also just in general, changing my lifestyle. Eliminating the sources of stress, getting back into exercise that I like, doing things that I enjoy. So I tell everyone, right now, everyone's like, what are you doing? You look so great. Whatever it is, it's working. And I'm like, I'm putting my health first. I'm saying no to things I don't like. And I'm putting my joy first. That's it.
Listen, the stress, all right? You could do everything right. But if you are stressed, your body will shut it all down. It does not
All
care
down.
at all. The stress
Stress
alone,
kills.
yeah, it will kill you. Stress will kill you. There are people who are very conscious about what they eat all the time. But like you said, you were in a stressful environment. That stress right there, it tells your body, don't do anything but survive. That's all it's
Right.
going to do. And it will kill you.
It literally does. And I think, whether I was working for someone or being a business owner, it comes with different types of stresses.
Yeah.
And I know, unfortunately, too many people who deal with stress by drinking, doing drugs,
Yeah.
just all the wrong things for their body. And there are healthier ways to deal with stress. But, I have parents who have kids and they have a wine for every day of the week. That type of stuff is not good long term. And so you have to think about what are you putting in your body and what your body gives back out.
Right, right.
And it truly does make a difference. And so you have to eliminate those things. You have to.
Listen, I learned about stress the hard way because I don't want to say it was affecting my health, but it was affecting my mental health. All right.
Absolutely.
It was breaking me down. And part of being black and a male was part of my stresses. And then trying to just maintain what it is to be a male. It's stressful. It's very stressful.
Right.
And it's a lot of financial stress, a lot of different stresses was just getting me all sorts of places. And
Right.
my mind was just starting to wear down. And I was getting very short tempered. And that's not who I am. So once I started realizing that, I said, okay, I got to take a step back here and figure out, because I got lost on who I was at a point in time when all of these things happened. So once I figured out, okay, take a step back, let's breathe on this and figure out what the heck is going on, right? Because I had a very stressful job. All right. I was driving all the way up to probably like 40 minutes away. All right. It was every single day commute. And when I was there, I didn't feel appreciated or felt very under pressure. And then when I did perform, it was just like, yeah, okay. And I was like, all right. You never really got the self-confirmation that you were looking for in order to do the job correctly, right? So anyway, I left that job. Since I left that job, I've been
Relieved.
yes, the weight on my shoulders was gone, and I felt it
Absolutely.
leave immediately. So
Absolutely.
then I became myself again, and I took a very long time off from that point. I say very long time. I took a month off, right? I took that time just to get to know who I was again, and at that time, I got to pick and choose where I wanted to go again, the direction that I wanted to go, because I'd never really had that presented to me before. Like
Right.
everything that I've had to do was because I had to do it because I'm a man and this is what needs to get done to take care of everything.
But the beauty in that is that we all have a choice.
Yes.
Now you may have to plan to get to your choices,
Yes.
but we all have a choice in
Right.
how we live and show up in this world.
Yes. Yeah. Anybody who's dealing with stress, you got to learn how to manage this because
Yes.
everybody, you're going to get into it. Stress is a
Yep.
natural part of life. I deal with things now by just being able to understand it in the moment. Just breathe and know it's temporary. That's it. I try to tell my girls the same thing. They're young, they're learning, and I'm trying to tell them things that I never knew at their age and give them that advantage. It's all right.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
So
just-
the breathing techniques, all of those things.
You got that from Calm too, right?
Well, not necessarily Calm. It was also
Okay.
from me getting back into practicing yoga.
Okay,
I used
okay.
to practice it a long time ago, but practicing yoga, the Calm app, and then also another tool that I use as a business owner. I believe in professional development, and a part of my professional development is to make sure that I am mentally, spiritually, physically, financially whole. And so I actually will hire mindset coaches or actually see a therapist So I think business owners need to have that in their toolbox in order to be their best self and show up in their business. And so my mindset coaches actually worked with me on breathing techniques whenever anxiety takes over
That
with
anxiety
running
is
this
real.
business. Yeah. Imposter syndrome, forms of anxiety. If I need to go speak in front of people, another form of anxiety for me. So like having mindset coaches, like they helped me figure out like the breathing techniques. And then there's this other technique that they use called EFT, which is like kind of tapping on your hand or in between like your thumb, and you
Okay.
kind of basically distract yourself from the thought that's in your mind.
Oh, okay. So you basically squeezing me somewhere so your nerves go somewhere else.
Yes, and
Okay.
your mind starts relaxing and concentrating on something opposite than what is causing you,
Okay.
the trauma or the anxiety or whatever is happening at that particular time. So I learned those techniques from meeting these mindset coaches and working on, changing the belief system, practicing these other alternative methods, getting up away from my desk if I'm working from home or out of an
Yeah.
office, like taking those 15-minute walks and getting outside in the sun. Small little changes like that, if you have a lunch break, leave. Don't stay
Yes.
in the office in a place that, adds stress.
Right.
Little things can certainly help you be able to navigate stressful situations. And I'm not saying, I said I took a month off. I was blessed to be able to take a month off. And
Yes.
I
Same
realized that
here.
everybody, I realized that everybody can't do that. But what we can do is sometimes maybe try to advocate for ourselves, especially if you're working with an employer. I think the pandemic taught us that people can absolutely have alternative work
Yes.
schedules.
Yes. Oh
And
yeah.
so, in order for you to maintain your sanity and, not pop off at somebody in the office or whatever, I don't know, have a conversation with your manager and ask them, is it possible for you to either work longer shifts and be able to take every other Friday off or something like that? Do what you need to do to keep your sanity and maintain your health. And ask. There's nothing wrong with asking your existing managers, and telling them what's happening. I have actually even encouraged some friends when they've been in some rocky situations. I'm like, listen, there is even a strategy that is used if you have health insurance under your employer. You do know there's a thing called FMLA.
Mm-hmm.
Go get you a therapist through their EAP program, the Employee Assistance Program. Start talking to them about all the stress and trauma that you're having and the physical impacts that it is having on you.
Mm-hmm.
And if you need to take a break, take your break, but get paid while you're on your break for 6 to 12 weeks. Use the tools that are here for you in the US to take your break.
That's a gem right there.
But by all means, take your break.
Yes.
Take all your leave for vacation. Use your sick leave. Yes, I know things can happen, but you'll be a healthier, happier person if you do these things.
Let's talk about the sun. All right. Because when you were talking and you were saying leave the building, right? This is something that I try to tell people too. Most of us are vitamin D deficient. All right.
Absolutely. Especially Black women.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. And our darker melanin requires a little bit more vitamin D than others. So, because we're vitamin D deficient, pretty much everybody in America, this is what I tell people: the sun is your friend. They try to teach you that the sun is trying to kill you, but no, the sun is your friend. Yeah, it is. Yeah, regardless. Yeah, the sun gives you energy. Okay. You got to think of ourselves just like the plant. The plant needs the sun. We need the sun. I didn't figure this out until way later in life that we need the sun. I remember playing outside, getting all the energy in the world. Then I remember being an office worker, not getting anything out of it.
Right.
Then I remember when I found out about health more and how dairy is fortified with vitamin D, and the whole hook to get people hooked on milk was because everyone's vitamin D deficient. So let's go ahead and just squeeze it in this here, and then we can sell it. And now everybody's hooked on it, and we'll tell them that you need it. And then all of a sudden they get together with everybody to tell them that you need this. It's a part of this 4 food groups crap. And now you pump it to everybody. But anyway, We need the sun. So at what point in time did you understand that the sun is vital to your health?
So I'm in Florida. It makes it a little bit different. We are the sunshine state.
That
So
is true.
it's very true. So honestly, like I will say, I do not do well when I go to places that are cold and the sun does not shine.
Well, you're in Florida, though.
Right. But I have, I used to say, hey, I'm going to leave the state. I'm going to go to DC. I've lived in Raleigh. I've lived in New Orleans. And honestly, I was miserable because I was there during the winter months. My friends that were there actually were experiencing seasonal depression, because it's cold, but they were not outside in the sun. Yeah. And I was like, I got to go back home. Like, I'm not used to this. I am used to being outside. Even from where I'm from in Florida, it's more of a rural town. So I'm a country girl. I was always outside. So me being outside, exercising, playing in the water, going to the ocean, hiking on trails or walking on trails in the woods or dirt biking in the woods. I used to do all of that stuff from a little kid. Yeah. So I needed to stay active and keep that up. But obviously being an office worker with an employer, it makes it more difficult. Again, I had a little bit of a stronger voice and always kind of advocated for myself. So like I would ask my employer or my manager at the time when I was working in government, like, hey, can I take my laptop, the library across the street from the office building, they have an atrium with some seats in it. Can I go sit over there and go work? I'm right there. You have my cell phone, my city cell phone, whatever. I just want a break to go over there and sit in the sun. Yeah. I would do little things like that. Again, getting outside and walking. Now, I wasn't diligent about taking the 15-minute break, but that's something I've implemented within this past year. Even from my own desk, I get up, I walk around, I go outside. But yeah, the sun is like vital. I don't know how to live without it, to be perfectly honest. And even when my autoimmune issues popped up, I actually ended up with a slight sun allergy, which bummed me out.
Yeah.
The sun allergy actually started, that was like one of the symptoms of lupus, for instance.
Okay.
So I'm not diagnosed with anything where they monitor me every 3 to 6 months. But having that sun allergy, I ended up taking a medication for a short amount of time to try to reduce my reaction on my skin to the sun. My skin, I actually started breaking out in a rash.
So you was that allergic. Okay.
That allergic. But again, since trying the changes with the foods, getting the exercise, drinking more water, it's calmed down tremendously. Yeah. So I do make sure I put on sunscreen and stuff when I go out. And I've actually invested in, I call them clothes for fishermen, like Columbia, kind of like the UV ray kind of clothes. Yeah. I do wear some of those if it's like a extremely bright day here in Florida, but it's vital. My whole mood changes if I'm not in the sun.
I love the sun. All right. I can't live without it either. I like being able to go outside and just breathe fresh air. I mean, this whole thing, about making money and trading and all that stuff is cool. But I always knew when I very first started that I did not want to sit in front of a screen the entire time. Absolutely. That's why day trading didn't work for me, because I knew I can't just do this all day waiting for the move. And it's like, this is just not my life. I wanted to be able to have the money make itself while I go enjoy myself. That was the whole premise for why I started doing investing in the first place. So okay. I want to jump into the whole diet aspect. All right. We know the sun is vital. Okay. And when it comes to diet, people often confuse diet just to be food related. And I tell people a lot of times, no, diet is anything you consume. That's going to be media, that's going to be your friends, that's going to be anything around you. So at what point in time did you realize that there was a broader spectrum when it came to diet?
It's been really, again, the past 3 or 4 years. Okay. Like you mentioned, a diet means kind of eliminating a lot of things.
Yes.
I was going through these health challenges. The pandemic was also happening. I did retreat And I did start assessing everything from relationships with people, looking at, I'm going through this like potentially serious issue over here with an autoimmune disease and could potentially get diagnosed with the two things that were popping up was lupus or rheumatoid arthritis. So those are very serious long-term implication type, issues. So I started looking at everything. And to be honest, things just started falling into place in a sense. I needed to pull back and just focus on me.
Right.
I started saying no. But I also recognized that even saying no to some people, I found that people didn't care for that. And so then it became the communication decreases and you get less invites to things. And I found that I was in solitude a lot more. But what I did do is it helped me refocus on my family. It helped me refocus on the friendships. Like there were friends who were like, hey, you went missing for a month or we didn't see you online. Like what is going on?
Yeah.
They called. And dope. I shared with them what was going on, but why I needed to disappear for that month, because my doctors told me to, but also just for me to get quiet, get still and come back to my own center.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And get grounded. And so it was literally after that month. And when I came back, I actually went away. I went to Maui actually for a month. But once I came back, I started just really reassessing these relationships, reassessing the relationships I had in business. And I started eliminating those too, along with the food. It wasn't, anything that was malicious. It was just I needed to focus on me and what matters and focus on the people who also exchange reciprocity in the relationship. I don't want things to be one-sided. Yeah. I never want anything to be, one-sided with whatever I do, because with my business, it's a service-based business. It's about impact. Even everything I've done in my career is about impact to others and servant leadership. And I give a lot. And so it helped me to sit down and assess those relationships where I felt like I was giving more than I was actually receiving. And so I switched my mindset to be in receiving mode.
Listen, the thing about cutting people off, all right, it sounds vicious, right? When you think about it or you tell somebody, right? But you hit it right on the nose when you gotta worry about yourself. Right. It's not selfish. It's not at all. You have to take care of yourself because you can't take care of anybody else if you can't take care of yourself.
Correct.
So
put your oxygen mask on first.
Yeah, that's exactly why. Everybody else is going to fail if you can't get to them anyway, right? People need to understand when it comes to your diet, the things you consume, right? This phone, right? This is the one thing that I feel like is probably the greatest tool, but also the greatest demise, because the way we use it is going to be detrimental to us or going to help us. And a lot of people just misuse it, period, right? I think having the internet is great, but also think that people misuse it, right? And the people who are behind the whole internet thing, the algorithms that they have, it obviously is going to continue to feed you the things that you are already looking for. So because they know what you're looking for, they're going to give you that. So my challenge to myself one day was, all right, I got to unplug from this. So one day I turned off all my notifications, right? I was doing my own research. I was like, this thing is designed to just keep you glued to it. So just let's cut everything off so it doesn't have to ding me anymore. Because it wasn't that long ago, 2000, 2003, getting back to somebody on an email within 72 hours was fast, right? Calling somebody back within 48 hours was fast. Now we have this instant gratification going on where I just emailed you. Did you see it? Like, no.
I sent you a DM and I want a response now.
Yeah, I need it now. Yeah, I just texted you. Did you get it? And then all of a sudden now, people realize on the text, you'll see the little dots that come up if you're responding or if it was read or not. Like, why are we doing this, right? But
it's insanity is what it is.
Yeah. And I'm like, yo, we got to cut off. So that's the one thing that I did for my own consumption. I said, all right, we cutting that off right there. Facebook, Instagram, all that stuff. I limit that. I do not have my notifications on for anything. And I'm just like you. I got my do not disturb that kicks on at 9 o'clock. So I don't get anything coming. And then it doesn't come back on until 7 in the morning. So my 9 to 7 is blocked out. I don't have anything coming to me. So yeah, yes. That reciprocity. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, that's key. No, I was just going to touch on the fact with the social media exchange. People now know I used to be online like a lot. On the scene with social media, meeting tons of people. I'm also in travel groups. So like that was a way for me to interact with people here in the US and across the globe. But I literally, even for myself, I have unfortunately, multiple profiles on social media. One may be a personal name and one is under my government name. But even on the personal side, the things that I was consuming on my feed, there was absolutely no way for me to just go in and really clean that up in a economical manner. So I ended up just creating a completely different profile. Yeah. And I said, I'm going to be intentional about the people that I follow, the things that I comment on, and the stuff that I actually want to see on my feed. Yes. Give me a Tabitha Brown. Give me a, possibly a sermon or something every once in a while. I have to feed my soul in different ways.
Yes.
And so I also take social media breaks. I don't care anymore. I will just leave and occasionally put something up on social media and let people know how I'm doing. But I just adopted the mindset, like I'm going back to old school. I care about relationships.
Yes.
See me in person, talk to me on the phone or via FaceTime. That's how we're building a relationship. If you're just watching what I do online, you're not getting the full picture because I'm not on there. I'm living life.
Right.
And that's what I want. So the people who want to live life with me and meet up, leave their house. I know some people still have social anxiety because of the pandemic, but let's get together. Let's, be in each other's house and break bread. Let's do all of the things that we used to do before all of this and stay off of these devices.
Listen, I'm at a crossroads right now, right? Because when I went down to FinCon, one of the things that I wanted to do was be able to get better at doing podcasting and try to build my YouTube.
Okay.
So as I was getting all the knowledge and gems on how to do it, all of it was basically telling me I need to be creating more content in order to have people come. So as I create this more content, I'm like, cool, I'm on this path. But then I was like, wait a minute. I am part of the problem now. All right. I do not want people to stay on their phone just to consume my content. So then I was like, all right, well, how do I balance this? Because I want to grow, but at the same point in time, I do not want to be part of that algorithm problem that I don't like myself. Mm-hmm. So recently I kind of just took kind of like a sporadic break by accident, honestly. My daughters are playing basketball, so that really just kind of broke me up out of my habits that I was doing. But now it gave me time to think, all right, how do I approach this now? And that's a unique problem that I don't think anybody else is really addressing. Like, how do you really go about saying, all right, I have this business. Okay, yeah, I want to help people make money. All right. But at the same time, I'm like, but don't watch me all the time.
So I think depending upon your type of business, you have to define what works for you and what feels authentic to you. So I have never, like I said, I was on the scene a lot on social media, but honestly, it never felt like 100% authentic. I would rather be living in the moment and practicing gratitude in the moment. So for me, what I have been utilizing that has worked has been, I have a social media manager who helps me with some questions that people are considering or thinking about.
Okay.
I batch that content on a day when I feel good, when I feel like I look good or I don't want to be in PJs or whatever. I get dressed up and I go batch that content and then I'm done and I go right back to living. So for me, it's about, I check in, the DMs every couple of days. She also checks it for me, but I'm managing by having someone else be a little bit of a buffer. Now, if you can't have that or get an intern to help you, You got to do what feels good to you. I'm not a person who does a lot of lives yet, but I have realized, I've been on Clubhouse a lot. I do pretty well when I'm speaking in front of people live.
Yeah.
It does generate more sales. So I do have to think about, you are here to do revenue generation and sell. So you have to show up for your business.
Yeah.
So what I'm doing is I am challenging myself to show up and do lives or do podcasts like at least twice a month.
Okay.
And that doesn't feel overwhelming to me. I'm not on 7 days a week. I'm not tied to my phone. I am a little bit more creative these days with like shooting random videos really quick, but they're like very short bites of like 10 to 30-second clips. And then I put my phone down and I enjoy the people that I'm hanging out with or what I'm doing at the time. So I get just enough to be able to develop that short video content, and then I'm gone, like, and I send all this stuff over to the social media person and have her put it together, or I'll put some videos together myself on my phone while I'm sitting there watching Netflix or something. And I will put it together on my own time and then drop it in a folder for her to like do the batch posting. But those are the things that are working for me. But for my business, I know that I am someone's cup of tea when I'm like interacting with them live, like one-on-one. And so for my business model, I'm choosing to go back to hosting or being a part of other people's, borrowing their audiences and being a part of their live events.
Okay.
I'm not stressing myself out trying to do these things by myself. I'm not stressing myself out trying to show up on social media 3 times a day. You get one post on all the channels, but it's consistent at this point.
I think within the next 3 years that we're going to have the switch over, because right now people are just consuming, blah, 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 just taking as much content as they can. But I think at a point it's going to come to being that it is, I can't think of the word, not authentic, but people are going to choose quality over quantity. All right. Because one of the things that I realized before doing this was that they just want you to have a whole bunch of videos. Okay. But what if it's all junk?
Right.
It's not going to stand the test of time. So right now I'm emphasizing, just like you said, when I make content now, I'm making sure that it is actually a quality event. So 2-3 years down the road, still looks good, one. And 2, it's still a relevant message that's going to be able to be applied to whoever is consuming it. So that's what I want to do. Like, I'm doing more shorts now because I'm not stressed for time, but at the same point, I'm also trying to not make myself do 10-minute videos all the time.
Right, exactly.
Because I don't want to have to do that and sit there and do it and then break it down and all that. So shorts are my thing to do now. So I want to move along to the mental aspect. All right, we talked about the sun. We talked about the whole food aspect. Mental. You hit something about anxiety. I did a podcast before with a buddy of mine talking about the culture in anxiety and how we do not recognize anxiety as one of the biggest things that we encounter on a regular basis.
Absolutely.
Because we don't give it a negative view, but we just don't acknowledge it, I don't think. We just like, it's just normal to be.
Because we're taught to push it down.
Yeah, and it's like, no, this is not normal for us to feel like that. So at what point in time did you realize that anxiety is something, stress alone? Like, what point did you realize how to deal with these mental issues that we deal with on a regular basis, and how did you address them?
So I think my journey has been a little bit different. I had some traumatic events occur as youth. And in college, I found myself actually entering into therapy at that point. I'm always an advocate for therapy. I think more of us as Black and brown people need to sit on somebody's couch or see them virtually over the computer and have a third party that you can talk to and either get everything out that occurred during childhood or figure out how to cope with everything that life throws at you as an adult. And so I grew up in a family, like everyone's pretty successful on my mother's side of the family, as well as some people on my dad's side. And so like I was around other pretty much achievers. And there was always this kind of internal message about what our family legacy and everything was supposed to be. I was the kid who's raising my hand, trying to get straight A's. I was incentivized to get A's. My grandparents paid me money to get A's, but all of that stuff took a toll. And I grew up and became this professional who's a high achiever and always looking for perfection. And so it wasn't until, honestly, again, pandemic's been shifting everything, I started really focusing on the intentionality of how I'm living my life, which a part of that also came with dropping the need for perfection.
Yeah.
Being a high achiever, wanting things to be, the quality, perfection, having the mindset of, we may be in these white spaces when it comes to corporate government work or whatever. We have to work 10 times harder than they do to earn, half, even not even half, because the wealth gap is much bigger for us. But we have to work so much harder to get the things that they are simply just afforded in life from just being. And so all of that weighs on us, whether we want to admit it or not. And it impacts us. We're at our jobs the majority of the day. Like you're at your job more than you are at home with your family. And so bringing that home as well impacts your life there. It impacts how you have me time or no me time. Like we've got to be able to find that balance. And for me, my mental health balance has come from getting around people who have positive mindsets. So again, I cannot tolerate being around people who are Debbie Downers, negative Nancy's. I cannot be around them at all. Like I need you to be able to change your belief or change if you have a negative thought, because I still have them occasionally. But if you have a negative thought, you've got to be able to switch it into something positive, like a light switch. And that takes practice. And so what you're consuming, television, books, radio. I stopped listening to the radio. All of that, I listen to curated lists on my Spotify playlist. Like I neo soul, positive, happy stuff. And as I mentioned, I keep a mindset coach or go to therapy. I may not be in therapy every single day of the year. I may go see a therapist when there's like something a little bit more challenging happening in my life. But I make sure that I use either the tools of my employer or as a self-employed business owner now, there's still opportunities for you to seek out a therapist or join groups with therapists so that you can make it more affordable. And so I make sure that I put a budget aside to invest in those things so that I can stay happy, healthy, and whole. And that's how I deal with anxiety. I have to use all of the tools that these professionals have given me from, again, health, spiritual fitness, physical fitness, all of these things combined help me reduce my anxiety.
Yes. Yeah, I'm just like you in the aspect that I had to change things up as far as what I consume, because when I started this financial journey period, my friends, nobody around me wanted to do trading or even they heard of the stock market. But as far as being a black person trading, wasn't around me, right? So I'm like, okay, where do I find this? I got to look for it in order to become it. So I had to cut my Twitter, just like you had to do for your Instagram. I had to cut it off, make a new one. And then I started from scratch, and I wanted the algorithm to pick up people who were actually doing investing. So from there, that's when I started building. And then I started to build relationships within the city because there are people who are local, and then I would meet with them. And then that's how I started getting a little bit more game on how to do that. But that came from that conscious decision to say, okay, cut it off. And I'm just like you with the negativity. I can't do it. It actually frustrates me because science has taught us when you have a positive and a positive, it's positive. When you have a negative and a negative, it's negative. But when you have a positive and a negative, it's negative. It takes the energy away from the positive. You got to get away from that. So I cut off everything that was negative. If anybody around me was negative, cut off. I couldn't do it anymore. Anything musically that was negative, I love hip hop. I'm a heavy hip hop fan. But I had to discontinue what I was listening to because everything was telling me they was going to kill me. They was going to take my girl. They had more money than me, that their life was way better than mine. I'm like, why am I listening to this?
Right, exactly.
Nobody's helping me feel better about me. So I was like, cut it off. And I just went straight to Stevie Wonder and Michael Jackson. That's all I did for the longest time. Oh, yeah. And Stevie is my guy. I love Stevie Wonder music. I can put that on any point in time and be like, yeah, this is what it's supposed to feel like, you know?
Right.
Yeah. So I had to cut all of that stuff off in order to become the better version of myself. And it was those dark times that created the times that I'm in now that I'm appreciative of. Because I didn't know at that time it was temporary. It felt like it was going to be a long time. But now that I'm out of it and I look back at it, I'm like, thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you for those times.
And I feel like these small changes, anxiety is like a big issue for business owners, honestly. I think it's probably anyone in if you've got a highly stressful job or you're in management or you own your own business, anxiety is going to be there just like the stress, and it's going to creep up. But you've got to equip yourself with the right coping skills and mechanisms to be able to, weather the storms.
Right.
I journal. I need to start producing my own journal, so maybe that will come next. But I write a lot. I have to get it out on paper. Mm-hmm. I, again, use these other tools that my therapists and mindset coaches have tasked me to do. Without those things, I don't know. I think I'd probably be sitting just curled up in a ball somewhere, to be perfectly honest. Or, taking somebody's pill, which is not something that I want to do. So I have just really strongly gravitated towards figuring out, again, holistic methods to deal with these issues, to deal with my anxiety, or even sometimes actually go through the feelings.
Yeah.
Sometimes you have to just go through it in order to come out on the other side. So I take a look at what is happening at that time and either use those tools or decide to just be still and go through whatever it is that I'm feeling and allow myself the grace and the space to do that, whether it's for a week or two or whatever that may need to be. Right. But I'm able to do that, because I am my own boss. So I can take that time out if I need to focus on my mental, spiritual, and physical health. And I take that time out frequently.
Listen, I'm glad you understand how to deal with stress, because the average person just really, they don't process it in a productive way.
I don't think you don't know what you don't know.
Right,
and again, if I didn't seek out this type of, these avenues or start, I pray to God, hey, please expose me to some people who might be able to impart some wisdom or share some light on other ways to deal with this stuff. My whole life has changed from, speaking that into existence and manifesting.
Yes, manifestation.
I call out and say the type of people or the topics or the things that I want to learn about, and it comes to me. And so I think, again, it's about your belief system and believing that you deserve it, number one, but that you are capable of achieving the life of your choice. And so then you start thinking through, how do you plan this life that you want? How do you visualize it? My coaches have me write down, visualize what your life looks like in the next month. I always every year write a letter to myself the following year for where I want to be.
That's dope. I never instituted that before.
Yeah, I write letters about, how I want to feel in a relationship, how I want to feel with employees, with my company. I do all of these things visualizing what it feels like to be in that moment. And so when things pop up, if it doesn't feel good to me, let it go.
We're born with this, right? I believe everyone has this innate ability to understand energy. I preach energy. This is what every human being is about. We are electric beings for this reason. We can go into any room and you can not have a relationship with anybody in that room, but know when something ain't right.
Exactly. You feel it deep in your gut.
Oh,
women
yeah.
Have it a little bit stronger. I feel women have it a little stronger than men, but
Probably do.
If you get that sick feeling in your stomach, something ain't right.
Something ain't right. You can look at any energy field, period. You can be like, something ain't right with those two people over there. I'm going to go over here.
Exactly.
That's what we do. All right, so Cherrise, it's been a dope conversation with you. I appreciate you being able to spend the time with me tonight. Thank you for being able to tap back out and say, yeah, let's have this conversation, because what we consume is who you become. You are what you eat. You are what you listen to. You are what you watch. All of these things you end up becoming, because all the mannerisms that you see and you pick up, you subconsciously reenact them. And this is something that people just don't pick up on. This is real. Frequencies are real. All of these things are real about people.
Absolutely. And, not only what it is that you're consuming, but also, putting it into your body and how you're moving your body and putting energy out into the world. Those things absolutely matter. There's tons of science behind it. We've got to get moving. We have to get from behind computer screens. We have to build relationships with people.
Yes.
We got to get back to being relational. No more isolation. We have to be in relationship with others. Relationships are currency. It's how you grow your businesses, how you grow as employees, and how you grow as people.
Yes. And on that note, I'm going to say the same thing I say at the end of my YouTubes. Drink your water, all right? Trust me, if people drank their water, the diseases that they experience will probably be pretty much eliminated, because your blood is predominantly water. And the way you get rid of waste is through your kidneys and through your liver. So it will filter it all out if you let your body do the work. So drink your water, all right? Exercise, and then make sure you always spend time with people that you love, because like we talked about, those relationships are vital to your health as well. So have that less stress. It will save your life. All right. So thank you, Cherrise. I appreciate your time.
No, thank you for having me. I enjoy this conversation as well.
Thank
Tell
you.
them diseases, not working out, bad health decisions. Don't let your habits kill you, that's what they will do if you allow it. I made this podcast for you to be empowered. When we join together, we the best, as if we call it. As I lead and help you see the steps, it help you redirect your energy to be your best. There ain't no need for doubt. Make no mistake that we are blessed in case you need a counter. Change my lifestyle and went vegan, switch from beef to salad. No more negativity when I speak, my people balance now. Your health is your wealth, your body is your bank account. Prioritize it ASAP. There's no need to wait it out. Disease is waiting to get you, make it hard to take you out. Taking care of yourself, you should know where you should rank it now. Exercise, make sure you get your rest and rise. Repeat and let your stress aside. You doing this and take a bow. The road we building, we teach our children to take the route. Just more than life than money, that's the curve we need to straighten out. Go.
Stop, and bars, stop, and bars, stop.